Oh my god, Delilah. It was a mistake what I did to her. I'm not a bad person. I need to go see Delilah.
Is Delilah like code for you getting homeless badge?
Oh dear. How did 40, the 6'1" man-child, figure it out? Man, I love you. Now whether you think I mean the show or you watching, I'm gonna leave it up to your imagination, but that's besides the point. The show You is about a guy named Joe, who holds an obsession with the idea of love, and it's pretty much the core of his being, his personality. And this obsession with love manifests itself when he becomes fixated on a woman. He goes to the extent of stalking her in real life, online, violating her privacy such as breaking into her home when she's not there, but most significantly, Joe goes out of his way to meddle in her life. All this for his pursuit of love for her. Joe does bad things in this pursuit, man, and I'm talking about these type of bad things. And he constantly justifies these actions in his own head. After doing something as bad as murder, he usually tells himself that whatever happened was necessary and that ultimately he isn't a bad person, basically convincing himself he did a necessary evil for love. This is called the self-serving bias. Basically, people bend into a situation in their head in order to maintain their identity, who they believe themselves to be, and Joe thinks his identity is that he isn't a bad person, that all he wants is love and to be loved, and he often sees what he does as a heroic act for love.
Like you said, I'm not a killer, but this is about her. I'm scared. I'm very scared of what you would do to her. Could have gone either way. He's lied about so many things. Who knew? The peanut allergy was real.
See, in this scene, Joe purposely poisons Benji, Beck's intrusive ex-boyfriend, by exploiting his allergy, and justifies it by saying he's scared of what Benji would do to Beck, and then goes ahead and kinda dodges accountability by saying Benji was such a constant liar, how could Joe be certain he wasn't lying about his peanut allergy? This allows Joe to steer the blame again towards Benji, convincing himself Benji's habit of lying caused too much distrust between them. And because of that, Joe couldn't just let him go after trapping him.
Guess Benji's gonna die. An honest man.
Another instance of Joe doing something similar is with Beck's best friend Peach. After he figured Peach was manipulating Beck and was also like, oh my god, she's a stalker, I have to stop her.
Retract the clause lest you scratch yourself with hypocrisy.
But for real though, Joe offed her because he found her too invasive in his relationship. Again, Joe convinces himself this was ultimately good for Beck.
And I know once the dust settles, you will find you're better off without her.
Although if you look at it from another perspective, one not diluted by Joe's self-serving bias, you can see that Joe has now made an environment where Beck is in need of emotional support, and of course with her best friend gone, she'll lean on Joe, making it able for Joe to be the center of Beck's attention. Now that people like Benji and Pete, who used to be significant parts in Beck's life, are out of the picture, and that all seems really manipulative.
You need emotional support right now, and that's my specialty.
All things considered, no matter Joe's reasonings, I think the absolute core of why Joe did this was because he's possessive and prone to jealousy. And why wouldn't he be? I mean, Joe's main value is love. What I mean by that is due to his troubled past, his main source of hope in the world is love. It's what keeps him going every day. That's why when Beck was offed by him, he very quickly became infatuated with the next girl who walked in the last episode of season 1. And also in season 2, when he moved to LA, he was quick to become fixated on love. And I mean the woman literally named Love, by the way, kinda confusing. He even immediately got an apartment with a view to spy on Love. When you center your priorities in life around one person, you're bound to be possessive and jealous, because outside of them, what do you have? Nothing. Thus, a lack of hope in life. Joe's hope is fueled by love, and thus the woman he gets fixated on. Speaking of his troubled past, let's paint a picture of it so we can understand why he's like this. Joe grew up in a troubled home. His mother kept relentlessly cheating on his dad. This caused fights in his house right in front of him. And eventually Joe would pop a cap in his dad due to concerns for his mom getting hurt.
You were protecting me. It had to be done. You would never hurt anyone. It was just an accident.
What happened here is significant. Joe's mom convinced Joe that he didn't do anything wrong and was protecting her. This instilled in Joe that it's fine to off others to protect those he loves. After this event, Joe was sent to foster care. Although eventually, because the foster home was a shithole, he ran away and found himself at Mr. Mooney's bookstore. At this point, Mr. Mooney took him in.
How'd you get to work here anyway?
Mr. Mooney gave me a job when I was just a little older than you. He sort of took me in.
Seems nice.
He was a dick.
Bruh.
Now, Mr. Mooney used to lock Joe in a cage as a disciplinary measure and force him to read. Mr. Mooney would justify this and say he was trying to guide Joe and it was all rooted in love.
Everything you need is in there.
Mr. Mooney instilled in Joe that you can do horrible things to the people you love in order to help them.
This place could be your salvation, surrounded by the greatest works of humanity.
With no choice but to absorb the wisdom of better men. Like, in the end, the cage was a good thing for me. I'm hoping it'll be the same for you.
But here's another significant thing Mr. Mooney did to Joe. When Joe found out Candace was cheating on him, in a fit of rage, he pushed the guy she was cheating with off of a ledge. He then went to Mr. Mooney's house, who helped him cover it up.
Listen to me, boy. Men, they go off to war, kill people every day, then come back and get on with their lives. Hear me?
Here, Mr. Mooney is trivializing and extremely downplaying what Joe just did. This, of course, instills in Joe that actions like what he just did aren't that big of a deal.
Mooney, he was my Mr. Miyagi. Miyagi was a Soviet prison guard.
It's also worth mentioning that Joe is extremely freaking lonely, dude. He doesn't have much of any friends, no family, he doesn't really have a true home. See, since Joe doesn't have a home, he tries to find it in other people. And I feel like that's also a big part of his obsessive nature.
As long as we're together, we'll always be home.
He lost his home once and doesn't want to lose it again. Joe's mother and Mr. Mooney are the two biggest impacts on Joe's values, and thus why he acts like this.
I thought I only ever acted from a place of love.
Anyway, diluted, I mean dude, what can we expect from season 3? Two things I want to talk about. Number one, the postcard Joe got from Ellie. I think the back of it is foreshadowing Love will catch Joe cheating and probably do something extreme. Or Ellie will make her way to Joe to take revenge. Remember, she blames Joe for what happened to her and her sister.
You ruined my life. Burn in hell.
Is this what fatherhood feels like?
Number two, the dress Love is wearing in the last scene we see her in is interesting. It looks like a white dress if the person wearing it was stabbed a whole bunch of times. This could be suggesting Love's demise. Her dress also reminds me of the U title sequence. Perhaps this means in season 3 she'll play the part Joe usually does. It'll be from her viewpoint, and we'll see her actions in getting rid of anyone between her and Joe. In particular, getting rid of their new neighbor, who was shown in the last scene when it was revealed she's Joe's new obsession. Nonetheless, I think Joe's luck of getting away with every crime he's committed is gonna run out. Like, for real, he's not invincible. Speaking of invincible, check this video out right now where I talk about why the show Invincible is awesome. Trust me, this video is going to make you want to watch it.